Oh, hey guys, good to see you. Hope you had a good spring break. Hope you got some time to get some fresh air. Oh wait, I forgot. Getting fresh air is illegal nowadays. I'm gonna try at the beginning of each week to give you a video that gives you the rundown on what assignments I expect for you to get done. I'm gonna try to post everything I can on Monday to give you guys the flexibility to work on stuff throughout the week at your own pace. Because I know you guys got a lot of assignments and you got a lot of stuff you gotta do. That said, may not be a wise idea to procrastinate like I saw some of you try to do 2 weeks ago. I got really worried on Friday night. You can ask my wife. Because at that point in time, it only looked like 2/3 of you had done your assignments, and I was so sad. And then I woke up Saturday, and suddenly, like 99% of you did it. So that was pretty cool. Make sure that you are on top of things. So this week, here's your assignments. Number 1, first thing I want you to do, and this week there is an order to things. The first thing I want you to do is complete the 30 days on minimum wage Ed puzzle. So as part of this course, we're required to teach you about economics. So one of the cool things we do at the end of the year is we watch a documentary called 30 Days on Minimum Wage. Well, since I may not see you again, I bumped that up to now. And so you can watch 30 Days on Minimum Wage through Ed Puzzle. Now I do apologize. For whatever reason, the video itself is, the only way we could do it is if the video was smaller and in a corner. So if it looks a little weird, my apologies. But before you freak out on another Ed puzzle, because I know some of you absolutely hate Ed puzzles, all right, the reason I did an Ed puzzle is because it's a 40-minute documentary. If I had done a Google form or anything else, it's not going to save your responses to the questions, and I want you to be able to just stop the video and just come back to it later. If you feel like you're zoning out and you're not in the mood for it, just stop the video, come back later. Ed puzzle saves your responses. So there's only 10 questions on it, and they're all multiple choice, but you have the option to get halfway through the documentary, spend 15-20 minutes on it, maybe today or whatever day you start, and then just come back to it later, all right? But I do want you to get that done first, all right? The 30 Days on Minimum Wage Ed puzzle. Secondly, after you watch the documentary, 30 Days on Minimum Wage, and you've done the Ed puzzle, and you saw just how hard it was for them to get through 30 Days on Minimum Wage, I want to put you to the test. I have a game, and I'm a little bummed because we play this game as a class, and it's a lot of fun, but you're going to have to play it individually. But in this game, it's called Spent, and we're going to see if you can survive in poverty for 30 days. Now, it's a pretty tough game. Not everyone can complete it successfully. So essentially, what it does is it puts you in a scenario where you've lost your job, you've lost your savings, you've lost your house, and you have a child. You're down to your last $1,000 in savings. And in this game, you have a lot of tough decisions to make. And in fact, it's going to throw a lot of different things at you based off the decisions you make in the game. It's kind of like one of those situation room things that we've done in class where you choose the options and then it leads you down a certain path. It's kind of like that. So I'm going to learn quite a bit about how some of you may act when financially pressured. There's even an option to steal money from your kids in the game. So I'm going to learn quite a bit about some of your all's moral compass. But in that game, when you finish, whether you succeed or you fail, take a screenshot of the final page of the game, and I want you to paste it in the Google Doc to show me that you played the game. All right, and then make sure you submit that. So that'll tell me how you did in the game, what decisions you made, and how you got there and stuff. And it's gonna be different for everyone based off the decisions you make early on in the game. So not everyone's gonna have the same experience playing it. But make sure you take a screenshot of that, upload it to Google Classroom. I have a doc already there for you. So just click paste on that Google Doc. Also on that Google Doc, if you're lost and you don't really understand the game, I have a link in the Google Doc that you can click on. It'll take you to a video of me going through 1 week's worth of the game, kind of explaining things. I recommend you play the tutorial because I give you some tips and stuff on how to play it as well. So have fun with that, but make sure that you take a screenshot at the very end and you paste it to the Google Doc and you upload it. If you have any troubles doing that, feel free to let me know, or feel free to take a picture with your phone and just paste it into Google Classroom, upload it that way, or paste it into the doc. Your third assignment for this week kind of has two parts to it. First thing I want you to do is take a look at the e-lesson I gave you. So in Google Classroom, you'll see this is pasted under the topics bar, which has all the assignments for this week. And in that, you'll see where there's a Google slide or kind of a video of me talking through the minimum wage. So that's where I talk to you about the different perspectives on the minimum wage, kind of the origin of the minimum wage, and I give you some resources to help you out with your final assignment. So the final assignment I want you to do this week is the critical thinking question. Sometimes I just call it a CTQ for short. And it's on the minimum wage. And it's essentially where I ask you, what do you think we should do about the minimum wage? Should we raise it? Should we keep it the same, or should we get rid of it altogether? And I know some of you probably already have opinions about it, and that's great. But I want to expose you to multiple different perspectives about it before you make that final decision and that final argument this week. So when you write that up, if you just do 2 or 3 sentences, yeah, I think we should raise the minimum wage because that's good. If people get more money, you're not getting much for that, all right? It's out of 30 points. The rubric's there. Make sure you read the rubric, okay? Just a couple things real quick about that rubric. You want to make sure you have facts and good reasoning. Use the resources I've given you. I've given you a few different videos and articles to take a look at to help you out. Using statistics, using logic, that's what I'm looking for. And then also make sure you counter the opposing side. That's always something I emphasize. I don't like people living in their own little bubbles and echo chambers where they're never exposed to alternative perspectives, and if they are, they never know how to actually try to counter argue them. So regardless of what side you pick on the minimum wage topic, I want you to counter an opposing perspective. Say, this is why that point of view is not convincing to me, or this is why they're wrong, all right? So that and everything else is due by Friday, but that's the last assignment that I want you to do. Just to recap, here's what you need to do this week. Edpuzzle, play the game, CTQ. Now, if you're saying, oh, Mr. Lucas, this is just, it's so much. How am I going to keep track of all this on Google Classroom? You know what? I'm glad you brought up that point. Let me think, is there anything I can do to make this extremely easy where everything's in one place and it's all together? Let me think. Well, I've got an idea. Well, look at this. All right, when you go to Google Classroom, you see the stream there, go over to classwork, you go down, look at this. I made a topic where you've got everything you need for the week for this particular week listed there. And I tell you what, I'll start doing that each and every week so you see all the things that you need listed there under a particular topic. Lastly, I got a few updates for you with this whole pandemic thing on what's going on. Number one, I'd like to give some of you some advice. I know a lot of you have test anxiety, especially when it comes to the big state tests at the end of the year. So here's some advice for the government EOC. I want you to take your anxiety, I want you to crumble it up, and I want you to throw it away. Because the government EOC has been canceled. Hey, look, you can actually thank your representatives because they got together last week in the Ohio General Assembly in the state legislature, and they passed a bill that, if it hasn't already been, it's going to be signed by Governor DeWine that gets rid of state testing for this year. Now, what does that mean for those of you that might need those points for graduation? Well, there's going to be other avenues where basically the districts are going to assess if you're ready to graduate and stuff. I don't know the specifics of that yet. If you want, you can look at the legislation. Gosh, if only I taught you guys how to look up bills. Oh, wait, I think I did. Hopefully you remember how to do that. If not, feel free to go back through Classroom and find the instructions for that. But all of that's in there. In regards to what this means for your lab hours, I'm not exactly sure. It depends on your program. So I'd ask your lab instructors about that. And then those of you that wanted to vote in the primary election but couldn't because it got delayed, I don't even want to get into all of that. Don't worry, the Licking County Board of Elections will send you a piece of mail that's going to tell you what the next steps are. The General Assembly last week also passed something where essentially, if I recall the bill correctly, they're going to send you an absentee ballot, which is basically a ballot but in the mail. And the postage on it will be prepaid, so all you have to do is fill out the ballot and just drop it in the mailbox. You don't even have to pay for a stamp on your own. It's already there for you. You just drop it in the mailbox by April 28th and you're good to go. Now, I'm sure some of you have been wondering, are we going to go back to school this year? Truth be told, I don't know. As of when I'm filming this at 9:24 Sunday night on, what is today? March 29th. We're still going back to school April 6th. The governor hasn't extended that time officially yet. But I saw President Trump during his press conference just a few hours ago mention he's extending social distancing recommendations till April 30th. Speaking of President Trump, I might as well give you a little bit of a current event update. A lot's gone down in the last couple weeks, and if I'm being honest with you all, over spring break, since it's my job to constantly read the news every day and show you guys what's going on in the world, I didn't really read much of the news last week. I just went fishing and I just tried to get away from it all. But here's what I do know. Congress passed the biggest stimulus bill ever. Now, if you're wondering what a stimulus bill is, that's essentially where the government tries to inject money into the economy by giving people money, hoping that they go out and spend it. Because obviously, as we talked about before we left, the economy's on a bit of a recession, a bit of a slump, because everything's being shut down. So the government essentially is going to give most Americans, not all Americans, those that make a lot of money, like above $75,000 a year if they're single, or $120,000, I think maybe, if they're in a joint household, they're not going to get this. But anyone that makes below those numbers are going to get $1,200 here soon, or if you're married with someone else, $2,400. And for every kid you have, that's an extra $500. So for every dependent. Now, there's some people that think that that works. It's called Keynesian economics. And there are some people that think that that's actually not a good thing, that that's going to cause inflation, and that that's not actually how you get the economy going again. So that's kind of where we're at. Both Republicans and Democrats have criticized that. Now, here's the tricky thing. Because it was so urgent, considering that this is an emergency and everyone wanted government to act quickly, this bill was passed very quickly. And it was passed so quickly that some people knew that because it was going to pass so quickly, that they could put a bunch of stuff into the bill. And I told you all that this happens sometimes with bills where they put what they call pork barrel spending into it. And we just went over special interest groups, and a ton of special interest groups got special privileges put into the stimulus bill because they knew, oh, no one's going to vote no against trying to help Americans in their time of need. So there's a ton of special privileges that's giving money to big corporations and helping them out. So some of the big airlines got millions and millions of dollars. They've still ended up laying some people off at the expense of small businesses who aren't really getting any of that, but those small businesses pay taxes that help bail out the bigger companies. So there's a lot of different opinions going on about that whole stimulus bill. I'll let you form your own opinion on that. So after President Trump signed that bill, the next thing he did is he granted himself emergency powers, which doesn't really happen unless we're at war. And he did that through the Defense Appropriations Act from World War II. And that's where he can basically boss businesses around and tell them what they have to produce to help the American public during the pandemic. Now, if that sounds like something a dictator would do, you're not wrong. But it's a time of emergency. So some people argue the president needs this power, and that obviously he'll give it up when this is over. So the red tape, the restrictions, the regulations of the federal bureaucracy, which is part of the executive branch, has actually kind of made things a little worse. So President Trump has been facing some heat because of the kind of slow response to some of the executive branch's agencies to this crisis and some of their bad regulations that have slowed things down. So as a result of that, President Trump has kind of been a little sassy to the media. Here's an example.
I have a question for you. So we have a lot of very angry media all around this room, and they want one of these seats. But because of social distancing, we are keeping them empty, and they are keeping them empty. Will there ever be a time when all of those really angry people who don't like me much to start off with, but now they really don't like me, will there ever be a time when these seats are full to the brim like it used to be, where people are almost sitting on each other's lap, and this whole row over here is packed, and now they're outside wanting to get in, and they're very jealous of all of these reporters? Will we ever have that again, or is that something that will be, it'll look like this forever?
So we're learning a lot about social distancing and respiratory diseases, and I think those are the discussions.
What a time to be alive. So good luck on your assignments this week. If you have a question about anything, feel free to drop a comment in Google Classroom or shoot me an email, jlucas@c-tech.edu. I look forward to seeing your responses. I look forward to seeing how you guys play the game and how everything turns out. And I'll talk to you next week.